Yes, now it's
Okay,
good. Thank you.
great. Thanks so much. So yeah, it's a great pleasure to be here today and to tell you all about a lot of the exciting work that we've done over the last year, especially in terms of bringing the Tron users to the BitTorrent ecosystem and vice versa, connecting the two experiences in some new and exciting ways. I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about an exciting product we have called BitTorrent Speed. Starting with an overview and then going into some growth and performance stats that we've come up with over the course of testing over the last year, and then tell you where we're going to go next. And then after that, go into some detail on the BitTorrent file system. Again, beginning with an overview, talking about performance through the last year that we've been rolling it out, and finally where we're planning to go next. So very excited to tell you about this. It's a great opportunity for us to connect the Tron blockchain to the close to 100 million monthly active users of the BitTorrent products. So on background, BitTorrent is one of the most successful distributed applications in the world. In some senses, it's kind of one of the original distributed apps. It's scaled tremendously since its inception. It predates blockchain technology, but shares some common concepts in terms of the power of distributed systems and the importance of peer-to-peer technology. So without further ado, let me dive into BitTorrent Speed. So BitTorrent Speed is a system where the user of a BitTorrent client can connect to other peers in a swarm, and by trading pieces of a file that they all share a common interest in downloading, they're now, with BitTorrent Speed, able to earn BitTorrent tokens, or BTT, which is a TRC10 token that lives on the Tron blockchain. It's been available for over a year, and it's been growing pretty quickly over the course of last year. We'll talk about that in one of the subsequent slides. What is it? So at the highest level, I would describe it as containing three main components. You have the BitTorrent client, which is this peer-to-peer download software that has been around and, as I mentioned, quite successful for more than a decade. This is a thing where you load a torrent file into it, and then it joins other peers in a swarm, and it swarms to download the file. The next component is the piece that I mentioned, this BTT token. So this is a TRC10 cryptographic token. And if BitTorrent can be regarded as a sort of barter economy, where people who are in a swarm each have pieces of a file, and you trade pieces that you have with other people in exchange for pieces that you need, then the BTT token can be regarded as a medium of exchange in terms of the four functions of money that allows for torrent acceleration and also for distributed storage in the form of the BitTorrent file system. The last piece of the components here that I'd mention is, of course, the Tron blockchain. I think everyone in this audience is probably intimately familiar with the Tron blockchain, so I won't go into any more detail on that piece of it. So torrent clients, these are the first piece of the puzzle. Over the last several years, we've worked to evolve torrent clients from what used to be kind of a download manager-like experience to one that has much of a more integrated playback experience. So this is one that's called uTorrent Web. We have many users that are using this product today, not just to download torrents, but also to play them back in a much more rich user experience. On top of that torrent client experience, we've now introduced wallets. So you can see in the background the uTorrent Web product, and in the foreground, a user is setting up their BitTorrent Speed wallet. So it's a pretty typical crypto wallet experience. You choose a password, enter it twice, you get a recovery phrase. Of course, you write down and secure the recovery phrase in a safe location, and now you have distributed custody of whatever assets are contained within that wallet. And the Speed wallet is a little bit special in that it connects to your torrent client, and assets that are contained in that Speed wallet can now be used to accelerate your downloads by participating in these auctions with other BitTorrent users. Or if you choose to download files and then seed them, which means in BitTorrent parlance to continue to make them available for upload over the swarm, you can earn BTT. That's the basic concept behind BitTorrent Speed. So we've covered the client component and now the wallet component. So those simple pieces have come together to make for a pretty compelling proposition for users. We've offered BitTorrent Speed to more and more users over the course of 2020. pretty dramatic growth as we've rolled it out to more of our user base, ending currently right before this conference at about 32.6 million. Still climbing that curve, and so we expect to offer it to even more users over the course of the rest of the year. We've done a large amount of performance analysis. So part of the value proposition for BitTorrent Speed, indeed its name itself, is that it allows a mechanism by which you can accelerate torrent downloads by bidding these BTT tokens or earn them for seeding. So we have here a plot of measured download speed. So speed is the x-axis. And the speed with BitTorrent tends to increase the speed with which you download as you get more and more of the file. So you can see the leftmost curve is the speed before you get 1% of the file. After you've got 1%, you have more of these pieces that you can barter with other people in the swarm. And by bartering more, you get more. And as you get more, you kind of compound until you eventually have the whole file. So as you download more of a file, you're able to download faster in general. Now, BitTorrent Speed adds another layer on top of this. So instead of just being able to barter pieces, you can take tokens that you might have earned for seeding in the past and spend them to get pieces. So when we layer that on top of this speed performance measurement, we see a picture that looks like this. So it's a little bit hard to interpret this at first glance, but you can basically see there's a number of bars. The top bar indicates the average speed prior to getting 1% of the file. Darker is a slower speed, and the brighter colors here are a higher speed. So before you get 1% of the file, things are generally fairly slow. As you get 5%, you have more to barter and it's faster, 20% more still, and average speed over the whole file, it gets even brighter, meaning that on average you're downloading faster. Now the part of this that's unique to BitTorrent Speed and fairly interesting is the graph as you go from left to right. So at the leftmost band, there's 5% of pieces involving BitTorrent Speed related downloads, a wallet ratio of 5%. And as you get more and more of the pieces involving BitTorrent Speed up to a high of 100%, we get down to the lower right corner of this graph, where you can see that there's a pretty significant speed up. So this has been a very good initial result. The next step here is to continue to iterate on this and improve the performance that we're able to achieve through this bidding, and also come up with more messaging towards users to try to get them to seed more often so that they're able to earn more BitTorrent tokens, which should make more and more aggregate upstream bandwidth, upload bandwidth available to swarms and make everything faster, not just for the people who are able to bid larger percentages of their total download. So where are we going next with BitTorrent Speed? We've made a lot of progress. The next steps that we're planning for this quarter and beyond involve creating a standalone BitTorrent wallet. One thing I didn't touch on in great detail in the earlier slides is each one of these users that sets up their BitTorrent Speed wallet is creating a TRON compatible wallet. And at this point, we're adding thousands of users each day to the TRON ecosystem through BitTorrent Speed. So we plan to extend the capabilities of that wallet, add new features, make it so that it can be used in a more standalone fashion, so it's not necessarily as coupled to the BitTorrent or uTorrent clients, to introduce a potential dApp store concept so that within that wallet, like other presenters have mentioned earlier today, wallets and dApps have a sort of natural synergy. You have the user's authentication mechanism, you have the ability to sign transactions and make payments, and you also have the ability to put dApps right in front of them and find what sort of dApps are a good match for what your users are looking to do with their wallet. And then further integration with BTFS, which is a great segue into the next portion, where I'll give a quick overview of BTFS. So BTFS is the BitTorrent file system. So it's a decentralized storage system. If you have extra disk as an individual or as an enterprise, whomever you are, you can contribute that storage to a sort of distributed network of people that then aggregate such storage and are then able to earn BTT incentives for storing things and satisfying certain proofs that you've stored them for a sufficient amount of time. So it's available right now for Windows. You can download it today. There also are Mac and Linux options if you're more comfortable with the command line. And this diagram lays out four of the key components here. So again, you have the BitTorrent clients as a distribution vehicle. So BitTorrent users are permitted to opt in and say, I want to use BTFS to store files on my system and earn BTT. You have the BTT token, just like with BitTorrent Speed, as the underlying TRC10 incentive structure. You have the TRON blockchain, of course, about which I need to see no more, and the TRON grid as a simple web interface to allow dApp developers and others to communicate with the BTFS backend. So the three components here, one is idle storage resources. So unused storage capacity on user systems around the world. This could really be hard drives that you have idle at home. This could be resources that you have on a provisioned server that you don't need to use. It can be anything, really. And then BTT is, of course, that incentive mechanism that is used as the enticement for people to store, and the TRON blockchain. So what does this look like to a user? This is an actual host interface. So you have two sides to this market. You have the host side and the renter side. A host is someone who's contributing the storage resources, and a renter is someone who is paying the incentives for things to be stored on those idle resources. So this is what it looks like for a user that wants to opt in to be a host. Basically, you can choose to set up your host storage and then start earning BTT. You can choose the host storage size. So 32 gigabytes of storage is currently the minimum host commitment size, but you can change things within that window to determine how much you want to store, and it will give you an estimate of potential earnings and allow you to commit to that storage over time. This is what the growth curve has looked like. BitTorrent Speed was the first tokenized product that we introduced, and so it's a little bit further ahead in terms of total users, but we've been able to achieve significant growth, especially just over the last month or so with BTFS, peaking right now at about 182,000 monthly active users. And this is a map of the node distribution. Because we have this sort of advantage in being able to piggyback on top of the BitTorrent ecosystem, where we have close to 100 million monthly active users, we're able to offer BTFS to those users in the same way that they accelerate downloads with Speed. They can choose to take advantage of, in the sense that Speed allows you to capture unused bandwidth, BTFS allows you to capture unused storage and contribute it to this ecosystem. So we've had pretty good adoption and penetration worldwide, even in the short time that we've been scaling the rollout. In terms of BTFS roadmap, next steps include more control over the ability of hosts to modify some of the aspects, such as specific folder hosting, being able to renew contracts automatically, as well as soon exposing the interface for renters. So as I said, it's a two-sided market. You have the host side contributing the storage, and the renter side paying for access to the storage. The next steps include fleshing out the renter UI, and then also shipping some exciting new mining incentive systems that will make it so it's much easier for a user to contribute to BTFS and earn tokens as they go, just by virtue of being part of that ecosystem. That's all I have to present today. Stay tuned for a lot of other exciting new product developments. There's a lot more coming the rest of the year, and thank you very much for your time and for having me here today.